The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised. Earthlings and alert the media. The John Lebang Show is on the air. Well, another week of hijinks out there in Washington, D.C. We've got the Republicans throwing out another attempt at repeal and replace Obamacare. You've got John McCain doing the same old dance, saying, no, I'm not going to vote for it. Nope, gonna vote no. We got Rand Paul taking some heat because he doesn't look like he's in favor of it because it doesn't address any of the issues. Trump's giving him trouble over it through some tweets. Yet, when you can look at the bill, and since we can't look at the bill, I mean, all we're getting is stuff out of reports that this might be in it and that might be in it. We don't know what's in it. It's a sham. The charlatans up there in the Republican Party are just playing another game. It's like they say, well, okay, we're bored. I guess we got to look like we're doing something. So let's go in and we'll pretend to put out something that'll totally fail. And that way it looks like we're at least trying to do something. But it was, it's just another fake attempt or failed attempt, if you want to be optimistic. I mean, that's how bad it is that if this is another just failed attempt at repealing and replacing Obamacare, that's bad enough. But at this point, you'd think they would have figured out what would pass and what wouldn't pass. I mean, they've had all this time. They had all this time during Obama, too, to kind of set things up. They somehow managed to agree on bills to be sent up to the White House for Obama to veto, but they can't, for the life of me, and really the rest of the country is sitting here in awe as they have everything handed to them. All they have to do is go, we agree on this, send it up to the Senate, we agree on this, send it to the president, and he'll sign it. Because he doesn't really want to fix the healthcare system either. He, at this point, just wants to show that he got something done. Because if he's going to sign anything that the Republicans are trying to send up, we're just going to get hosed anyways. Some of these things, as you look at them, or at least as the reports come out, you realize it's not fixing a dang thing. It's just shifting this and that and everything, and it's just another Band-Aid to keep the Obamacare rolling. They're going to call it Trump Care or Republican Care, or I don't know what they're going to call it. But it's in place, and they don't want to remove it. They're scared to remove it. And the funny thing is, you've got voters in practically every state wanting this thing repealed. You had the Republicans shuffled into D.C. over the last 7 years. You had a president, a Republican president, elected into power to get these things done. Yet, lo and behold, they can't do a darn thing. And that's because these bills are fraudulent, they're fake, They're only there to make it look like they're doing something when they're actually not. They'd rather be out on the golf course. They'd rather be out doing something more entertaining. Who knows what they want to do, but they don't want to pass legislation or at least repeal it. See, that's my biggest issue. Okay, you can't agree on the next step in health care in this country. You can't agree on it. That should take time if the government is even supposed to be involved with it. It's just like they assume the government has to be involved with health care. And a lot of people demand it because they want that free health care. They want some sort of subsidy. They want single payer so they don't have to pay out of their own pocket. And we're left with a Republican Party who is a bunch of do-nothings, a bunch of fakers. I mean, they're tricksters at this point. They're handing us, snake oil and going, here, it fixes everything. And then when you get the Republican Party and you use it, it doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. And they're supposed to be the alternative to the crappy Democrats. The only alternative is you get nothing done on the people's behalf. With the Democrats, you get plenty done. You just get done to where it's more socialism, more communism, less freedom. The Republicans are supposed to be the counterbalance to that. They don't do anything to pull it back, or very little. Nothing meaningful. So we're left with another fake bill just because they want to produce something because people are on their back, because they want this thing repealed. And that's the rub right there, isn't it, folks? The Republican Party is scared to death to just repeal Obamacare and then worry about if it's even their job to be in health care. If they would just repeal the thing, they would have the American people get off their back a little bit and they wouldn't have to play these fake games. If you can't get something done that fits everybody's agenda when it comes to putting together some sort of stupid healthcare plan, some sort of stupid government healthcare system, run by the government, dictated by the government, implemented by the government, if you need to do that, debate that. Take your time. Get that done over. You've got 3 years to do something about that. But what you don't have time for is to keep letting the American people wait, and then another cycle of Obamacare comes into play, and we are punished once again. And a lot of people are like, what do you mean we're punished? There are people in every single state in the lower middle income range that are suffering because they can't afford health care, and it's cheaper to take on the punishment of the mandate tax. So not only do they not get health care, but then they have to pay into somebody else's health care, because where do you think they get the money for these subsidies? They take it, they steal it from whoever is being punished for not having a health insurance plan. And instead of the Republicans looking out for the people and saying, you know what, that mandate was a evil thing. It was bad for America. It goes against all the principles of what this country stands for, making me do something I don't want to do. But instead of just repealing it and then finding a way, if you want to work with the Democrats and the president, and finding a way to have some kind of health care system that doesn't mandate us to pay any taxes, doesn't make us be involved, doesn't make us have to buy a product from a private insurance company or a insurance company that has government agency ties. If you can find something that's within the funding that we already give you, which is nearly $2 trillion a year, if you can do that, then fine. Make some sort of health care plan that helps out everyone equally. Which means the rich guy gets the exact same treatment as the poor guy. If there's money involved, both get the same amount of money put towards their health care. I don't care if the rich guy can afford it. Just because a person has more money doesn't mean they should be taxed more. I mean, for Pete's sakes, it isn't the government's money. It's the person who owns the money, or who, again, we can't talk about owning money because we don't really own our money. But if you've got some kind of stash of cash, if you're loaded, doesn't mean you should pay more in taxes. And the people, because they don't want to work, or the people that can't have good jobs because of whatever reason, because not everybody's going to have a good job. You guys need to pay the same amount of taxes if we're paying taxes. See, I don't mind getting rid of all the income tax, especially. It's a ridiculous tax. It punishes people for working, for being productive. And that's very much where this country's gone anyways. They punish the people who are productive, and they hand out and dole out the money to whoever is unproductive. They call them some sort of victim group. They're in some class that is deemed a victim group, and because they're whatever, they get free money from the government, which the government doesn't have money. So where do they get it? They get it from the people who are paying the taxes. And the people who are getting the bridge cards and the welfare and even on Social Security when they're not of retirement age yet, or when they've not paid in that much into Social Security, when all these people start grabbing money, they got to get it from somewhere. And we get into this whole thing with Obamacare. Now there's people dependent on Obamacare. They got insurance because somebody else paid for their subsidy. It came out of somebody else's pocket. Now they're dependent on it because now they're going to the doctor. Heck, who wouldn't want that? Get free doctoring. Go there and, you don't care what it costs. You're going to get free meds maybe. Oh, well, that's cool. I mean, more of that, opium epidemic. Let's make that more readily available. And let's make it free to people who are in the low income class. Why are they in the low income class? A lot of it's because they don't want to work. And it's funny they call them low income because when you tally in most of these, you add in a good majority of these government aid programs, it tallies up to way more money than I bring in a year. Yet I'm the one who has to pay a fine for not being able to afford insurance through a private company. It's great, isn't it? And this is what the Republicans are telling us. Well, we can't figure this out. We had to figure it out a few years ago, but we can't figure it out anymore. We're confused. We're perplexed on how to get a bill to pass in Congress. We can't repeal something. We can't replace something. We can't pass anything that we were elected to do. It's awesome. And because they're so inept, you, me, and hundreds of thousands of people, we're talking, just in the state of Maine, people who made $50,000 or less, 79% of those households were hit with the Obamacare mandate tax. 79%. You had 64% in Alaska, 82% in Arizona, 83% in Kentucky. These are people who are making 50 grand or less. Not a lot of money in this day and age, with the devaluation of money and with the inflation rates and how expensive everything is. These people are getting punished you're not rich already and you get punished because you can't afford to pay for a healthcare system that has been skyrocketing ever since the stupid government got involved with the whole thing. Oh boy. Folks, we got to take a quick break as you can hear the music rolling in. More on the flip side when we return.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Listening there. Don't go anywhere. The John Lebang Show is going to be right back. Just ask the hillbilly.
That's right. Right after this.
What about me?
Maybe next time.
Check out the new book from Derek Shelmerdine,
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It tells the story of rock and roll from its roots right up until the mid-70s punk.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Not just the music, but also the events that shaped the music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It includes the backgrounds to recording sessions, singles, album releases, births and deaths, epic concerts, and festivals.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Shelmerdine has made a painstaking effort to document pretty much every event that would prove significant in shaping popular music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Purchase the book at www.rockandrollunraveled.com. Follow him at Twitter at R&R Unraveled, and look him up on Facebook at Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
By author Derek Shelmerdine.
Available now.
And I'd like to welcome our new sponsor, Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning. For a beautiful, sparkling shine that's crystal clear, call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass.
You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Join the radio revolution right here.
It's better than some good Thai stick, man.
Yes, I would like some too. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Just a quick note before we carry on here. At the bottom of the hour, we're going to have mortgage guru Rosemarie Ashley coming in. She's going to be talking about the current mortgage market. She's got a lot of great information to bring to you. But we're, going to continue on this Obamacare thing because it's really not an Obamacare thing. It's the government thing. It's the people in government who go up there and who are elected to work on behalf of the American people. And in particular, their districts and their states. Yet we have states like Arizona and Kentucky. They have all Republican senators in there, and that might vote yes and might vote no for, they can't figure it out. In Missouri, Indiana, Montana, North Dakota, West Virginia, all these states here, there's people that are in the Republican Party who might vote to repeal this thing and might not. We don't know. We're confused. There's all these details. And then you have the states with the Democrat, like my state, my wonderful state, where we have the wonderful Gary Peters, Mr. Gary Peters, and the wonderful and talented Debbie Stabenow, who neither one of them are going to look out for their own constituents who are suffering in their state. And we're up in the upper echelon there, too, of percentage-wise, of people who are under $50,000 and who have to pay a fine for being alive because Obama and the Democrats way back when decided that being alive means you have to own an insurance plan for your health care. So that way the government can tell you what to do with your life. And if you don't have one, you're punished for being so bad for not buying a product. Our wonderful senators up there are going to just sit back and do nothing. They're worthless. They're not going to help out their constituents here in Michigan. They don't want to do what's right for their constituents. Oh, Debbie Stabenow and Mr. Gary Peters over there are going to say that they're looking out for their constituents, but they're not looking out for the ones who pay for these sort of programs. They know very well that it's these fines or taxes that have been placed on Obamacare that pay for all these subsidies. So all they care about is the shift of money from here to here. They don't care about that because they're going to get the votes from everybody who got the money shifted to them. And they obviously don't care about the people who the money was taken from. So you got all the states with Republican senators that are hemming and hawing and can't figure out if they want to do it, can't even send up a real bill that has a chance to pass. The Republicans own a majority. They could do this without any question. They could leave the Democrats out of it. But they can't seem to get something done because people in their own party aren't happy with it. They can't come up with some kind of consensus on the new health care bill, whether it is just to repeal it, because that would be the good thing to do, the reasonable thing to do, the thing they were sent there to do. No, these imposters send up a fake bill to make it look like they're doing something because they have to justify their reason for being up there in Congress, because otherwise they look like a bunch of do-nothings. But every time they do something, they do nothing. They get it wrong every time. They don't get it done. We, the American people, who are taking the brunt of this Obamacare and the brunt of the tax burden, are ignored again. We're discounted. We don't, in fact, they're discriminating against us. And I thought this government wasn't supposed to discriminate. I mean, I'm starting to think us as the taxpayer need to file a lawsuit against the government to recover all the money that they've stolen from us because they have not followed through on their promises. I mean, that would teach them. I mean, it's getting to the point where we have to take back the government structure. And I mean, I just almost strip them of power because they're harming the people of this country. It's amazing. We have the DACA thing where politicians are more concerned with people who are not here legally. The first thing they did is break the law. And it's amazing that we're even going there, that we're having a debate about whether or not we should be able to allow people who break the law into the country legally and let them stay here. They broke the law. Now, the DACA thing, I know they were children and they were brought here, without their consent or whatever you want to call it. That's a whole different subject. And if they're not old enough to be stay here, on their own, then they have to go back with mommy and daddy if mommy and daddy are illegal, because we don't want to break up the family. Now, if you want to leave them here, if you want to let these young illegal immigrants stay here, which I'm not even for, but if you want to let them stay here, you can't let them vote. They don't dictate to us what we do in our own country. I've already discussed this. You don't let people in your home unannounced, for one, and you don't let people who just break into your home, because that's what they're doing when they cross the border illegally. They're breaking into the country. You don't just let them stay in your house. So we got a Congress and even a president who isn't working very well together. And it keeps falling back on the American people. And we have to continue to deal with a Obamacare that should have been replaced long ago. Replaced with nothing, in my opinion. Repeal that sucker and just leave it be. We've got to reduce the spending of the federal government, because the more money it takes in, the more programs it creates, the more power grabs it takes, the less freedom you're going to have. And you're not getting the security you were promised. There's still attacks inside this country that have happened. And they've happened at the expense of the people who just are going about their daily lives. And that's how it always works. It's the average human being, the average American, that has to deal with the brunt of all the effects of the so-called people in government and what they do. You know, the FBI has people on watch lists and don't do anything about it, and then these people do something that harm Americans. Congress supposed to repeal Obamacare, supposed to give us tax cuts. Nothing. Our investment in the United States federal government is in the red. And it's a bad investment. And we need to take our money back. And I don't know how you can do it. That should be left up to some really good lawyers. But I think the American taxpayer needs to start a movement to sue the people who run Washington, D.C., and even your state governments if you want, for misrepresentation, for false advertising, for bait and switch, selling us a lemon. We bear the brunt of all their decisions, all their deal making. And when it goes bad, when it heads the way it's not supposed to go, there are no repercussions for these people. So I'm thinking we should get a constitutional convention going. Maybe put in a new amendment. I'd like to see the 16th Amendment repealed. We should do that as well. But get a new amendment. And this amendment would basically say any politician who signs a document, a bill, who is part of a bill on the yes vote, who was part of writing a bill, the president, everybody who approves a government program, a bill, a law, or an agency, if those things do not go as planned, do not fall into budget, go south, become destructive, it needs to come out of the person who was behind that bill, the people who voted that bill, and the president, whoever that is, who signed that bill. They have to pay the difference in the costs. So if there's a $20 billion overrun in some program that somebody signed on to, you and everybody who signed on to it and made it law have to pay the burden equally. All equally. You guys decided to do it. You guys said, yep, that's a good idea. You guys should have to pay the difference. If it goes south or if there are bad things that happen to people, you guys should have to pay the burden of the legal fees or maybe the jail time. I think we need to pass a constitutional amendment making the people in Congress, the president, even the judges liable and responsible for their vote and their action and their decrees. Will it happen? Probably not. Because who would want to be a politician? Who would want to get something done? The entire left would freak out. They couldn't get any of their things done because they wouldn't be brave enough to risk their fame, their fortune, their freedom to pass a bill that might just fill their pockets a little bit. See, there's no repercussions for these people. So they can go up there to Washington, D.C., even in your state legislatures, and rake in the dough. You know, get that little soft money, put it in there, and get that folded money and put it in your pocket. You know, somebody comes in and says, hey, there's a pie in that box. My wife made the pie for you. I'd like you to think about that new project we're doing. When you look in the pie, it's a cherry pie with a whole bunch of money on top. And then things get done. Oh! Well, let's make these people accountable. That's one of the things I think we should do to fix the entire system. If the votes and their actions and their bills that the people voted yes on, if you pass it, if I'm not talking about the people who vote no, we're not going to let that pass. Because here's the problem. Once something's passed, it's a hard thing to get rid of, as we can see with Obamacare. Too many people are afraid to do anything because there might be repercussions from other people, not their voter base. They don't even care about your voting base, do they? How many elected officials did you vote for that were supposed to go up to D.C. to repeal Obamacare, and they haven't done it yet? Anyways, folks, we're long here. Rosemary Ashley, Mortgage Guru, when we return. Stay tuned.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Listening there. Don't go anywhere. The John Lebang Show is going to be right back. Just ask the hillbilly.
That's right. Right after this.
What about me? Maybe next time.
Fans, do you need a video for your brand new song but don't have a lot of money? Then contact John Lebang. His reasonable rates, professional look, and fast turnarounds will help get that song off the ground. Contact him at jlebang.com.
If you are elderly, disabled, receiving SSI or Medicaid, and you have a medical need or require assistance with daily housework, shopping, grooming, medication, you may qualify for housekeeping at no cost. Call now, VIP Home Healthcare, 248-579-3805. VIP Home Healthcare, there when you need them. That's 248-579-3805.
You know, if you're getting married soon and you need good entertainment, you need to contact John Lebang. He's got 30 years of experience of wedding entertainment under his belt, and there is no one better and no one cheaper. He's running a special to the end of the year, $500 for your wedding if you book now. Contact John Lebang by email at jlebang@live.com or go to his website. That's www.jlebang.com.
CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Their billers and managers are all dedicated to working for you to increase your profits. For more information, call CRRM at 248-579-3805. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
Forces of darkness, the treasonable maggots who collaborate, must, can, and will be wiped from the face of the earth.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we're cruising right along. Got a special guest for you right now. mortgage guru, Rosemary Ashley, coming to visit us. How you doing, Rosemary?
I'm great, John. Thank you very much for that introduction.
So we got some news going on with the mortgage rates. That's why I'm having you on. Why don't you tell the listeners what's going on in the mortgage world?
Well, as you have heard, interest rates are increasing. Now, interest rates can increase for all sorts of reasons. They are tied often to the Dow, and they're also tied to the news. And a lot of times we have no idea why they change. I think right now it has something to do with the North Korean discussions going on, and that's making people, investors, uncomfortable. And apparently, when the bond market, where the mortgage rates are pretty much based on, when they don't give as good yields, they put them into the stock market, and interest rates go up.
And they're also affected by the Federal Reserve. When they raise interest rates, that usually is affecting the mortgage interest rates as well, correct?
Yes, but it's indirectly, because what the Fed does is they change the discount rates that the banks lend to each other, reserve rates, and they do influence the interest rates, although it's not a direct, oh no, the Fed interest rate raised a quarter and now the mortgage rates raise a quarter. That doesn't always happen, because there's been often interest rate increases based on anticipation of what the Fed's going to do, and then they don't do it, or they do it and it remains unchanged. I'll tell you, the market is very much unpredictable right now. The people who are experts at it don't get it right.
And that's due to the situations like with North Korea and what's going on in Europe and other places in the world, as well as like Venezuela and here. They just don't know how to work the market right. Is that what you're saying?
That is part of it, but it's not the whole part of it. I mean, traditionally, back in the day, anytime the Dow would go up, the mortgage rates would go up, and the Dow would go down, the mortgage rates would go down. But we've seen times that the Dow goes down and the interest rates go up, and it shouldn't be that way. So I am not an expert in the markets. I'm not an expert in that part of financing. And like I said, even the experts, they talk about it, they discuss it, they come up with reasons. I'm not sure they really know either.
And being like a first-time home buyer, and you're seeing all this, what can you tell a first-time home buyer that just doesn't know what they're getting into yet?
Well, there's a big process when you're buying a house, and interest rate is certainly part of it. Now, an interest rate, just because the interest rates go up in general, does not necessarily mean that's going to be a corresponding eighth or quarter higher in your interest rate, the retail rate, because the interest rates that lenders get, they can go up and down a little bit on the wholesale side without affecting the retail side. So when I talk to first-time home buyers, interest rate is not the first thing we discuss. We discuss what kind of products. Interest rates change with every kind of products. Interest rates change with credit score, with down payment, with mortgage amount. Interest rates change based on how long you lock them. So there's an awful lot of things that go on involved in the interest rate. Sometimes if your credit score goes up 10 points, you can get an eighth better interest rate right away just because your credit score goes up. But there's other things that we need to look at. The first thing, what I do, and when people call me, the first thing I talk to them about, I do an interview, and I ask them about their income, their debts, their available cash, and their credit. And from there, I can get a good idea how far along, if they're ready to apply, if there's some things they need to do first. And a lot of times people need to work on their credit. Metro Detroit is where I focus my business, and we got hit hard, as you know. And we got hit hard, and we got hit first, and we got hit long. So a lot of people are still recovering. And so the first thing to do is to get pre-qualified. And one of the important things that consumers need to be aware of is not every pre-approval is the same. The words pre-approval, they're not the gold standard. A pre-approval can be as little as a customer going to an online application, putting in their information, getting their credit report run, and the system sends it through automated underwriting. But as you know, whatever you put in a computer, that's what the underwriting determination is going to be based on. And the way underwriting calculates income is very, very different than the way you and I might consider how much money we make. So for qualifying income, it's always good to have a loan officer that you can talk to, that answers your question, that's been around for a while, that will look at your paperwork and pre-underwrite the file, because that's a stronger pre-approval, is when you go through the computer, you've run your credit, the loan officer has looked at your credit, reviewed your credentials, looked at your W-2s, looked at your pay stubs and bank statements and tax returns, and looked at all the information, or most of the information, that the underwriter's going to. And then they can tell you what would be the best product for you. And there's still a lot of different products available. The scary programs that brought down the global economy, I haven't seen them. I haven't seen any products with negative amortization, and that's when you pay your minimum payment and your balance goes up. They do that on student loans now, but not too many places do it in the mortgages anymore.
Was those ARMs you're talking about, back what we had back in 2008, 2007? Those ARMs, is that what you're talking about? How they would change, the rate would change?
Yes, all adjustable ARMs will adjust sometime, but there's a whole plethora of adjustable rates. This was a specific kind of payment option ARMs sold by Countrywide and advertised very heavily, at least in Metro Detroit. And those interest rates, they were artificially lower. There's always a teaser rate. And the teaser rate is the introductory rate that only stays for a short period of time. On some of those option ARMs, they might adjust every month. I mean, that's as often, sometimes a month, sometimes a quarter, sometimes 6 months, sometimes once a year. There are adjustable rates that stay fixed for 3 years and 5 years and 7 years, and then adjust there every year thereafter. But when you're selecting a product, you really want to think about how long do you anticipate being in the house. If you're planning on being in the house for a year or two, maybe an adjustable rate will be good, depending on what kind of adjustable rate you get. And you also look at the interest rate environment. Now, I was telling people 10 years ago I didn't think the interest rates were going to stay this low much longer, and they went lower. So this is kind of unprecedented. I've been in business since 91. So this is what has been going on with the interest rates as low as they are right now. This is fantastic opportunity for people to buy houses.
Except there's no inventory there, right?
Exactly. I mean, I can't speak to other areas as well. I mean, I know in general there's a inventory issue, but I can tell you in Metro Detroit it's a big issue. The biggest issue is that people don't want to sell their house. If they own a house, they don't want to sell their house unless they know that there's another house that they want out there. So a lot of people who own houses are trying to get approved with their current housing expense and for the new house. But this also has another problem, because then lenders don't like people paying loans off quickly.
Right.
So, I mean, there's no prepayment penalty on most of these, but there's often a recapture. And one of the problems lenders are having is that people are doing that. They're buying a house with their current house, they're moving in, they're selling their house, and they're paying off their mortgages. It's not profitable for lenders to do that.
Right.
But another issue is that they're not putting their house on the market, so that first-time home buyer doesn't have anything to look at. There's bidding wars sometimes. I've heard of houses selling for $25,000 over listing price. I have heard of purchase agreements, including a clause that say, regardless of what the appraisal comes in at, the customers are willing to bring the difference into the house. And of course, if they're getting a mortgage Their mortgage is based on the lesser of sale price or appraised value.
Now, so is it because we're not getting new inventory? Like, when I say new, it's like, are we not building enough to keep up with the demand? Or because, of course, there's only so much existing housing?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
I know that there is some building going on, but that's stalled for a lot. Back in 2008, 2009, a lot of people started to build houses, and then they lost their jobs or whatever, for whatever reason, couldn't go through it, and that was a big problem for builders. I have seen more construction happening now, but yes, there is existing inventory. I mean, there are existing houses, and there's only so many available houses. But like I said, the big problem is people don't want to sell them until they find a new house.
We've got a few minutes left. Why don't you go over some last-minute thoughts, and then maybe, if you want, give them your contact information so that they can, get a hold of you with their mortgage questions.
Sure. They can reach me my cell phone number is 586-419-3918. They can text me and I can call them back, or they can just call. But one of the things that you need to think about if you're going to buy a house, you are going to be working with your real estate agent and your loan officer pretty intensely for the next 30 to 45 days in general. Pick somebody that you feel comfortable with and that you feel is going to work for you. Now, regarding real estate agents, you can actually hire a buyer can hire a real estate agent by signing a buyer's agreement, and they don't have to actually take money out of their pocket to pay that realtor. I highly recommend that, and stay with one realtor who's going to give you the service, because you're going to be loyal to them. They're going to work very hard to find exactly what you want. And the same with the lender. The lenders do a lot of work. Find somebody you trust. Find somebody that you feel is an expert in their field, and they're explaining things to you, and they know what you need, and they tell you what you need, and they'll follow up with you. And then it can be a very pleasurable experience.
And why don't you give them your contact information one more time?
My phone number is 586-419-3918. And actually, they can go to my website at www.guaranteedrate.com/loan-expert/Rosemary Ashley, ROSEMARIEASHLEY. And the website has a whole bunch of information about what kind of mortgage products might be best for you. You can get a rate quote. You can get all kinds of information right online, and then you can have more intelligent questions when it comes to asking the experts.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show. That's Rosemary Ashley. We'll be right back, folks.
Where do you think you're going?
The John LeBang Show will be right back.
So grab a beer and a smoke and sit your butt back down. Stay right here.
Powerful, epic music by Toothbox Roll. Life-changing lyrics come in every style, empowering humanity to finally unlock the chains of bondage. Experience the edgy side of positive music and rock your world today. From Primal to Divine, available now at sassyalternativemusic.com.
If you want to contact the John LeBang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John LeBang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John LeBang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're enjoying the new changes to the show, bringing in a little more guests and the new segments that we've added to the broadcast. Just trying to make our attempt to keep the show as fresh as possible. If there are any bits you liked in the past, any little segments you liked and we don't do them anymore, let us know in the chat room or send us an email at jlebang@live.com. Maybe we'll bring some back, we like to test the waters. We like to keep things new and fresh here, as they say. Fresh. Like the produce at the store, although it's not usually very fresh at the grocery store. So we've been talking, mortgages tonight with our mortgage guru, Rosemary Ashley. And we're delving into the politicians in Washington, D.C. earlier as well. And, we had our first family member who went out for a political office just recently. It's not a big, highfalutin, government office. It was school council. My niece went out for school council. She didn't win. I think she's disappointed about that. But you don't always win. And next time, she'll have to come up with a better campaign idea. She lost to an incumbent. So that's how it works in government. That's why we can't get rid of Mitch McConnell and John McCain and all those guys, because somehow the incumbent has a little clout and people tend to vote for that person ahead of other people, whether they're good or not. So I was over with the family the other night and I found this out. My niece was running for school council and I was like, oh, that's cool, And I started to mess with her because, I give politicians a hard time, and that's kind of what she was going to do if she won, was be a school politician of sorts. And so I started asking her questions on what her ideas were on making things better for the kids. And she talked about snacks, and I mean, she's only like 12 years old, so the political topics in a 12-year-old world is a lot different than the political topics that you and I might discuss. So they were talking about having different kinds of snacks at the lunchroom, which was pretty cute. I was just like, okay, that's good. And I'm like, well, who should pay for those? And she was like, well, what do you mean? She didn't, take that into equation. And I'm like, well, if we're going to bring in new snacks, somebody's got to pay for that because the money comes from somewhere. And she didn't know, she was a kid. She doesn't know these things. And she goes, well, we just need new snacks. And I'm like, yeah, but there's money involved with it. How do you pay for that? And of course, she was dumbfounded, and she started getting a little snippy with me because she thought I was messing with her, and I was in a way, but I was trying to show her what a politician's going to have to deal with in the future. Because when kids start into these things, they continue on into them, and I just want her to be well informed about it. So I go, well, you're kind of like President Obama, aren't you, running for office? And she's like, no, because she didn't understand that she was actually running for a political office. And I was like, well, that's what you're running for. You're running for a political office. You want to be a politician. And be it just in your school council there, that's fine. We got the city council. Those people it's just, another layer of this. It's good she wants to get involved with the government type things, I mean, I find that very interesting. Maybe I've even influenced it. I don't know. But I posed a few questions to her, and then I started, showing her that she's going to be just like President Obama and Donald Trump. And, I use the big guys because I could talk about Debbie Stabenow and John McCain and all of them. But she doesn't, she's young. She doesn't know them. But I know she knows the president, at least the last two. So she couldn't believe it. And hopefully I didn't discourage her, but it was really interesting to see her reaction, because once she got it, it clicked in her head that she was a politician. You could see it. And she had this look on her face like disgust. It was funny because for a 12-year-old to be disgusted with the politicians is amazing, because us adults are very disgusted with the political world and most politicians, right? And when she, because at that age, I know you're not gonna, it's not gonna click with you that a school council position is a political appointment. And when she got it, when I explained it to her that that's exactly what it is, I was like, I like that. That's, I'm proud of you. She wasn't proud of herself, I think, after. Maybe I'll bring her on for an interview, because I'm going to encourage her to go to to do it again next year. Just because she lost, she shouldn't give up. Because I think, it might have been down to her campaign. It's that simple. For running for office, it's down to your campaign. And I think I'm going to be her campaign manager on the next class council meeting, because I want her to win, for one, and I want her to get a good taste of what a politician is, because as she grows up, she's going to have to deal with these guys in one way or another. They're going to either implement laws that affect her life, or if she's going to be in politics, she's going to have to deal with these schmendricks on a regular basis. And I want her going in with full knowledge and not being naive to what the system is like. Because it's not where the person goes and gets in office and they can affect some kind of positive change for people right away. It's almost impossible. You have all these entrenched politicians, like the person she lost to, it's funny, because I'm enjoying this, because it's right in my family now that we had somebody going out to be a politician. I'm not the only one who's now politically inclined in the family. My family stays away from that mostly. We got a religious side to the family, and then we've got other sides to the family that probably shouldn't be discussed right here on the radio. But my niece, it was great, because when she clicked in her brain that what she was going into was a form of politics, she became disgusted with it, because I know when I was relating her to Trump and Barack Obama that she does not want to be related to those kind of people, because she's a good kid, right? She's an awesome kid, smart and talented. I mean, she does the gymnastics thing and the dance thing or whatever. She's just really good at it. As well as, she gets great grades in school. But that's just a little story I had there. I thought it was funny. I think she's a little disappointed she lost. But that'll be okay. I'm going to be her campaign manager next time around. We're going to do the Donald Trump method. We're going to get these votes without spending a whole lot of money. Without, cause I mean, maybe the other guy was bribing him with Juji fruits or something. You never know with politicians, to get votes, you go out and you do what you got to do, and you make friends, and sometimes you got to grease some palms. And if if a fruit roll-up gets you a vote, that's an easy fix right there. We're gonna go out there, I think, next year, and I'm gonna do some really cool campaign videos, and I'm gonna make sure she does the, I'm Miranda, and I approve this message. I think that's going to be so fun. And if anything, it'll give her a nice, because we'll make them lighthearted a little bit, because it's school. It's not dealing in the real world of politics. We'll make them a little lighthearted, so that way her charm, because she is full of charm. We'll tell you that right now. And she's a little pistol, right? She's hilarious at times, and I think that she just needed to let that shine a little bit more. And I think she might have been able to get more votes. And I don't know how big, if it was a landslide or whatever. But, it was her first time running. I know she didn't know how to run a campaign, but she wanted to get involved, and I thought that was really cool stuff. So, anyways, that's my little family political story for you. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for yet another 60 minutes of sonic vibrations known as The John Lebang Show. I'd like to thank all of my affiliate stations, old, new, and everything in between. Don't forget to go to my website. That's www.jlebang.com. If you want to send us a request or something, you can send us an email at jlebang@live.com. I want to thank everyone out there, truly, so deeply, for the time you've listened to my show and sticking with me throughout the years, sharing the videos, everything you're doing out there to help promote the John LeBang Show. We continue to grow. We got more stations on the horizon in more countries. It's freaking amazing. So I want to thank all of you. And with that being said, until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, this is John LeBang
Same time,
signing
same
off
space,
from
same
the Banger Studios.